That's cool. Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Into the Night with Sean Kelly on UPRN Radio 105.3 New Orleans. How is everybody today? Well, I'll tell you what, I'm hanging in there. Our last show on Chasing Prophecy, we had Christina George, and it was like one of our best shows ever. And the lady's lovely. She's awesome, and I hope to have her back on our other show again, Chasing Prophecy. Yeah, so that is my other show. I'm a co-host with Jenny Nicasio and John Ventry on Chasing Prophecy, and that comes on 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And dude, I'm telling you what, man, when it comes down to numbers and times like that, my brain goes nuts. It's like that's
Hmm.
why you see me like, can't you see it like going in my brain and shit like that? You know what I mean? It's like
I'm the same
trying to
way.
figure out. That's cool. Um, I wanna get the show started right now. I have my dear friend Matt Barron and Daniel Son of Week. Who's Daniel? I don't know Daniel, but all I know is that he's. I was on his show last night, and we had a great time. It was good. I enjoyed talking with him. Believe it or not, dude, I forgot the name of your show.
No, that's
So
all right.
that,
That's right.
that's how
Sometimes I
bad I.
forget. I forget what day
Oh,
it
I
is
don't know.
half the time, so it's all good. But
It seems
last,
like for all the times that I'm working, I've been working a lot, and it just seems like the days just run together. Do you know what I mean? It's just
oh
like
yeah, oh yeah.
really insane. But um, I was on his show last night, and he had me as a guest, and we had a good time. Um,
Hmm.
and found out we have a lot of things that are in common, you know, between us. So, I really believe that there is no such thing as coincidences. Everything happens for a reason. This gentleman that I have as my guest, Matt, we met in last October. Drake Bowman, he with the Oakmont Paranormal Society, was doing a little event at Andrew Carnegie Library over in Homestead.
Hmm.
And I was out there, puffing on my thing here, and he decided to come out and have a cigarette. And we were like just starting to chat. And it just seemed to form. And
Yep.
I'm excited that he was on my show. And tonight, and again, I was very happy that I was on your show.
And no
So,
problem. It was a blast. It was a lot of fun, and thank you for having me. It's an honor.
oh, thank you. It's an honor. We can go on saying it's an honor, but
Yeah.
two paranormal brothers, what I mean. It can that you can shoot the shit, you know what I mean,
Oh yeah.
and talk, and we are on Roku, so I mean, we will behave, because my station manager's probably watching, or she's going to see this, so we got to behave and tone it down a little bit, but that's okay.
Hmm.
Um, so, Matt, I saw that you sent me a bio, and it was huge. Why don't you give my people, um, give them a little background about yourself?
So I started in the paranormal field about 16 years ago. Um, just like with everybody else, I did have a personal experience when I was younger. And Shawn, as you know, here in PA, you can't really, advertise that. It's really low key. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people push it under the rug. Um, but I started seeing the shows and everything 16 years ago. Short version, went out with a couple of friends, had another experience, and realized there is something to this. That there is something going on. Went to go join a team, and let's just say we didn't see eye to eye. They were all about money. They were all about profits, making themselves, popular, and basically chasing clout.
Mm-hmm.
So I left their group, and through a course of several events, started my own team. It was called San Diego Paranormal Eye, and over the course of several years, did over 400 homes and businesses as far as clients are concerned. Was going out in the field almost every night for years on end, and led me to run three different teams, two out in San Diego, one here in central Pennsylvania. And yeah, and we got out of the team setting almost, I'd say, almost 4 years ago, and started doing the paranormal consultancy. My
That's I
wife,
want to touch a little bit more on that tonight.
yeah. Well, I guess the short version with that is, I got to the point of running a team here where the team and was more, they had different goals in mind. They wanted to go one direction, I wanted to go another way. And finally I just said, you know what, if it's going to cause too much of an issue, we're just going to shut it down. So they went and did their own thing. And after a few months, I was going to just kind of just hang it up and just say I was done. But you know as well as I do, and we said it last night on the show, it's addicting. You
Mm-hmm.
know, the field is addicting. It's a passion. And I was talking to my wife about it, and I said, you know, I just wish there was something I could do to help. I want to help teams and groups, but not have to worry about the drama
Right.
and all the other issues. And she goes, what, like a consultant? And I went, paranormal consultant. And it just fit. It just had that nice ring to it. So
Right.
I started doing that, and I said, you know what, let's do this. Let's start this venture. And originally it was going to be just a couple of YouTube videos, like how-to videos.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but while I was doing one of my videos, I met an individual named Scott Morton. You know Scott from Warren Area Society of Paranormal. Um, I met him, and he got in contact with me, and he said, "Listen," he goes, "you have something here." He said, "I see something in this." He goes, "It's your personality, everything about you." He goes, "The way you talk to people, the way you talk to the audience." He goes, "You can do a show." So I said, "Well, I don't know what I would do." He goes, "Reach out." He goes, "Just reach out, network, start meeting with teams, hang out with teams, talk to them." Excuse me, and take this consultancy to the next level. And he really motivated me. So a
Mm-hmm.
couple months later, I decided, okay, I was gonna start what started out as the Paracast, and that went on for, I had the Paracast for a couple months, and then I met my two out of my four co-hosts that I have for my show, the Paracrew podcast. We found out that there was another group out there that had the Paracast, and we didn't want to step on any toes or cause anything, so we just changed the name to the Paracrew podcast, which it is now. And since then, almost every week we've had a show, and that's been almost 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been going on, and we started out with just one show a week. It was Friday nights at 9, and I just kept getting requests to to have guests on. People were like, "I want to come on, I want to come on," and people were basically requesting me to open up a second show.
Mm-hmm.
So we opened another time slot on Wednesdays, and then yeah, it's been growing exponentially since then.
Well, the show, this Paracast that you're
Mhm.
talking about with your three other co-hosts, or um, what have you actually learned from you doing the two shows with your guests? What have you actually learned?
Well, I think the most the thing that stands out the most to me is that this field, like we stated, is full of a lot of ego. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of issues.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, there is even a greater number of people who want it to stop. There
Right.
is people out there. There's a lot of people out there who want the growth and who want to network with people, and that number outweighs the egos and everything else. So there's a lot of like-minded individuals, and it's been such a blessing to get a chance to speak with these people and work with these people and network with them. And it's really humbling, and it's really fun to get a chance to talk with teams who, until they, you get them on the show and you start talking with them, they actually have a chance to network and reach out. They're not just trapped in one localized area. They're, you get out there, you promote them, and it might be a difference of having 5 people see them and 500 see them.
Right.
And for a team that just starts out, who's new to the field, they've got resources that when I started, never had. I
Right.
didn't have that network.
Neither did I.
No.
I remember, what was it? My first investigation that we did was a cemetery. It was Restland Cemetery. And for and the backstory behind Restland was there's a ghost out there. Her name is Walking Rosie. Long story short, a bunch of kids who were drunk came into the cemetery and they tore her headstone off.
Oh,
And
jeez.
yeah, and they threw it over the hill. And so the the legend is that she walked around the cemetery looking for her headstone. I have definitely seen her many times, but starting off back in 2006, it was real hard because there was really nowhere to go except.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember we did wrestling for like 5, 6 weeks in a row on a Saturday. They were pretty cool with it, and then found out about Blue Miss Road and other places, and it just took off from now. But no, at the time, and I understand where you're coming from because we I didn't have no help, you didn't have no help, and we just winged it. You know
Yep.
what I mean? We just winged it. But
Yep.
with it being an obsession, yeah, it definitely was, and I'm kind of glad now that I retired, and all my people out there know that I retired now. I kind of like want to help other paranormal groups. I don't want to form no groups. I just want to
Yep.
help them out, and they're more than willing to come. So that's why I give you a bunch of kudos, and I'm glad there's another person out there that has the same things, same ideas as I do. So back to your consultant work.
Yeah.
I'm a brand new group to start now. I come to you for help. So, what is your basic steps on helping my group out?
So the first thing I always tell any group, whether it's a brand new group or a group that wants to rebuild, is first set a goal in mind, because to me and to many others, there are two different types of teams. There are ghost hunting teams, and then there's an investigative team. A ghost hunting team, to myself and many others, are just like the weekend warrior, if you will.
Mm,
They just go out, they want to get footage, they want to get evidence, they want to have fun, and it is a hobby, and it is what it is. It's a lot of fun. The investigative side are the ones who you see get all the equipment, who go out to help clients, who go to these locations to really dive in and investigate into our field. And it's just that, it's investigating. And you first got to figure out, what do you want to do? What is your goal for your team? Um, that's the first step. The second step is, what size of a team are you looking for? Because there's certain teams out there that have a team of 3 or 4. And then there's some, like my San Diego team, we had 47 investigators at one point.
that's just too many. Too many.
Well, and that's the thing. We needed it. We needed it. We were getting, when you have a weekend of 7 or 8 clients that all need help, because of course they all need it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
You got it. It was needed at that point. So
Right.
the recruiting. So you get to that level and find out, what size group works for you. And a lot of teams and groups, they don't know. They don't know the right size, and it takes time and effort. You just got to find your right fit. And then it's just a matter of coaching. What kind of equipment, are you looking at the more metaphysical side of it? Are you looking at the more scientific based? Are you looking for a balanced one? Are you, and it's just step by step. And then what I will do is I will actually work with the team, either virtually. We'll go on an investigation with them virtually. Just like on StreamYard here. They will have the camera right there during the investigation. We'll walk them through, asking questions, looking at the right angles, what to look for, what to listen for, and just have fun, but help build them and coach them and guide
Right.
them, and then just let them go. That's one thing that I've learned in this field is you can't micromanage paranormal teams. You can't do it. They,
No,
that is going to be
no.
the biggest downfall. You have to let
Right.
your investigators be the investigators. You have to let the founders be the founders, but there still has to be some sort of structure. And it's tough for a lot of teams, whether you're seasoned or you're brand new. It's very tough to learn that balance, and without an outside resource to help you out, it can be devastating. It can break up friendships,
Oh,
relationships.
it sure did. It broke up a lot of friendships,
Oh
and
yeah.
I can actually say myself that it broke up a lot of friendships of mine. You
Hmm.
know, but then again, I get back to where everything happens for a reason. So maybe there's a reason why that these people, you know, things happen.
Yep.
I do not degrade any of my people who have left, and
Nope.
stuff like that. I encourage them the best I can. But back when you were doing when you were working with clients, when you were actually going to the house,
Hmm.
did you kind of do a walkthrough with them? Did you like read the email and then call them and do a walkthrough? How was that?
So there was certain steps that I did take. The first one was typically a phone interview. I would just talk to them, find out what's going on, just to kind of give an idea of what may or may not be happening. And then I would either, depending on the severity of it, I would meet with them. Like if it was obviously more of the malicious intent, we'll just say it that way. We would meet somewhere like a Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, somewhere public, somewhere away from the property. Because if it
Hmm.
isn't an intelligent malicious, obviously you don't want to show your cards right away.
Well,
Um,
they already know you're coming, so
exactly.
why you?
For me, it was just one of those. I didn't want to set myself up, and
Right,
I wanted to give my clients an outside area to sit and relax, outside property, so we can talk freely, and not have
right.
them, scared. Um, but if it was a normal style haunting, like what typically I found, we would go into the daytime and do a walkthrough, do a
Hmm.
baseline. We would do our baselines right there. We would do our interviews right there, and we would start kind of planning out the investigation, camera angles, equipment placement, stuff like that. Where was base going to be set up? We always had a base camp, that was, where the DVR monitors were. And we just come up with a basic game plan and talk with the client about it. Then we'd ask if they wanted to be there. Some did, some didn't, which is perfectly fine.
Right.
And then we would set up a day and a time to come investigate, or I should say a night. And
Hmm.
typically, all of my investigations were performed at night, just because it's not the stigma of it. It's just we wanted to take away shadows and everything like that, and anything that may be distracting to the investigation. Obviously, at night, you don't have all the colors and and everything like that. You don't have that visual distraction. So, unless they said, "Oh, it usually happens at 1 in the afternoon. All the activities 1 in the afternoon or whatever," then that's something obviously different. But that's typically how that went. And then the night of the investigation, we would show up. We'd stop about a block or two away from the resident, and we would just drive around the neighborhood just to kind of get a feel for the area. That's
Right.
whenever the mediums, the sensitives, whatever, that's where they would start feeling it out, seeing what they're picking up on the area, and then we'd go
Hmm.
to the house, and it was game time, so to speak. We'd just go in, set up, and do our debunking first, and then we would hit the metaphysical. We do all of our scientific readings and stuff first, and then we would hit the metaphysical stuff towards the end of the investigation or halfway through.
What type of metaphysical um, things would you do?
Um, Well, let's see. In San Diego, I did have a couple of mediums. All my teams are
Hmm.
sensitives. They would have the dowsing rods. They would use pendulums, crystals, just anything like that. We tried to stay away from Ouija boards, just because we didn't want to freak out a lot of the clients. A lot of clients
Right.
don't understand, and they don't look at it as a tool. They see a Ouija board and they, get scared. Um, but no, those were the basic metaphysical stuff. outside of the cleansings or the blessings. We'd have white, black, sage. We'd have lavender. We'd have different herbs. We'd have different spices. We'd have oils, different minerals and crystals, stuff like that. Just we had a little bit of everything,
Okay.
just in case. So
Now I know in my experience, at a lot of houses that we did, the clients would have contacted other paranormal groups, and they'd come in and they would sage, right?
hmm,
And we would, they'd call me up and it's like, okay, we sage. This group told us to do this, and the priest came in and he saged and blessed the house. And to me, in my experience, I believe that all it was a band aid for that certain day. You know what I mean?
yep,
And that in a couple days it would come back, full force, full vengeance on y'all.
yep,
So, and that's when we were called in. But
yep.
I need to know if, and my people out there too, um, what if you did come across an entity that was really malicious and really bad, and you knew whatever you did wasn't going to work? What would you go by?
Well, first of all, like I tell everybody, it's all off a comfort level. If you get into a
Hmm.
situation where you are not comfortable, you are not confident, do not go in. Don't even attempt it. Don't even try it. Just back out and find somebody who knows what they're doing, who is more confident and comfortable, because that's what they
Right.
do. Um, Myself, I wouldn't do anything unless I was 110% for sure and confident it was going to work.
Okay.
If I got myself into a situation, if I mean, there's obviously differences, and that's something a lot of people miss, and a lot of newer teams miss. Is there's a huge difference between a malicious intelligent, uh, just malicious style, like a poltergeist activity. That's something
Right.
completely different than an intelligent malicious. And then there's obviously demonics and a couple others, and we can sit here for hours and talk about the different levels, but
Right.
typically what I have found is either it is a spirit that has been ignored. They just want attention,
Right.
and they're lashing out because they want that attention. If it is something malicious, intelligent, that's like maybe it's just somebody like you said last night on my show. Maybe it's somebody who doesn't realize they're dead and they want to keep
Right.
ownership of their house. You've got to be able to handle talking to these spirits and making, I don't want to say making them understand, but working with them, but
Right.
actually sitting down and just saying, look, we'll just say the name John. It's a common name. Say, John, listen, we understand that you think that you own this house. You have passed on. You are not in this realm of existence. You do not own this home anymore. We
Right.
understand. We apologize. And there's ones where I've seen where they've gone after kids, and sometimes you've got to put
Yeah,
your foot
that's
down.
not good. That's
No,
not good.
no, and
Mm-mm.
you've got to put your foot down. You've got to tell them you will stop, and it's
Right.
not provoking. I mean, I don't provoke. I'm more of a challenge, but I'm also not afraid to stand up and say you're gonna stop.
Right.
Yeah, there's two ways that this is gonna work. You're either gonna listen, and we're gonna work this out peacefully, or we have the ability and we have the confidence to get rid of you. You will be out of
Mm-hmm.
this house, and it's through prayer, meditation, and practice, and research. All that ties in.
Now,
You
do you
can't.
actually? I'm sorry.
No,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead, go ahead.
Um, do you actually meditate when you're on an investigation? If you have to go talk to that spirit.
Yes. Depending on what the client wants. Some clients just want everything gone. Um, I pray, like I'm a Christian and I'm an ordained minister. I pray before I leave the house with my team. We usually
Hmm.
pray for protection, clarity, and to kind of, I don't want to say tone and down the energy, but kind of mellow everybody out and ground everybody. Um, so I pray before we even leave the home or where we're meeting up. I pray whenever we get to location before I even make contact with the client. And then usually for me, I pray right before a blessing or a cleansing,
Mm-hmm.
and then I pray the entire time during. Now,
Okay.
I do my blessings and cleansings a little differently. As you know, if you sit here and you have a malicious or something that's, we'll just say stubborn, for
Mm-hmm.
lack of better
Yeah.
words,
Okay. Yeah. Stubborn. I like that better. That's good.
they will fight back. They do, lash out. I do all my blessings and cleansings in the home by myself.
Right.
And this is at the end of the investigation, and usually my team and the clients are outside. The
Mm-hmm.
client has already taken ownership of the home. We've already sat down with them and told them, you're going to tell these spirits, listen, you've got to take ownership of this house. This is after all that. But I turn off all the cameras, I turn off all the audio recorders, and it's just me and that spirit that's
Right.
there. And I go through the house and I pray for not just the spirit, but I pray for the homeowners, their families, anyone who enters the home. And I just pray for, guidance, forgiveness. And then at the end of it, I say the Lord's Prayer, and that's how I close out, and everything
Mm-hmm.
stops.
That
And
is like
then,
totally cool.
and well, my thought is I put everything, these homeowners, they use all their energy to deal with this because we're there for a couple hours. They live with this. They've been dealing with so much, and they've given it their all. So why shouldn't I? Why
Right.
shouldn't I give it my all to help these people out? So I leave nothing on the table when we're done, and everything I've done through my faith and my belief and my practices has had, I'd say, about a 97% success rate, and
Awesome.
it's almost been immediate. Like, I've had the homeowners come in and say, "This doesn't even feel like my house. This feels so different," and it sticks. It stays.
Well, whenever I would do clearing in the house, mine's totally different. That's for another show. Mine's unorthodox, but it works. I work with my animal spirit totems, and I work with my angels. That's what I
Mm,
do. But what I have noticed was whenever I go into an investigation, okay, you first walk in and just look at the lights, how dim they are, how there's just like this negative energy that surrounds the whole house. But
hmm.
after it's all said and done, you turn the lights on, and it's as bright as can be.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And a lot of the people, even some of my members, my group members, and the people who own the house are just like, wow, wow. This ain't like you said, it's not the house.
Yep.
But I have noticed too that, and I want to know if you have experienced this, was there's a lot of clients that want the ghost in the house.
Yep.
Okay. And I
I've had a
said,
couple.
and I tried something, and I said, I told the client, I said, I'm just going to try this because I never did. And I actually sat down and made a deal with the ghost. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, you can haunt the shit out of this house till about 10 o'clock at night. And then
Yep.
after 10 o'clock, they don't haunt. And they
Yep.
usually held on to that deal. You know what I mean? It's just, and I have noticed too, you know, some invest, and I'm wondering if this happens to you, that there are sometimes that ghost will, drive the client crazy by moving things and,
Hmm.
all kinds of, but not hurt them, but make themselves known. But
Yeah.
actually, what they're trying to do is, all right, so we're going to drive this client crazy, and that means they're going to have to call my group or your group just to
Hmm.
get your group there in order to A, let them speak what they need to be spoken about, and B, just like, hey, I want to go to the light or something like that. Has that ever happened to you?
You know what? Oddly enough, almost every
Okay.
time. And what I usually tell each one of my clients is typically these spirits, they have their own agenda, first of all. And the way I explain it is, think of a 5-year-old kid. If you ignore that kid, what are they going to do? They're going to start throwing stuff. They're going to start banging things. They're going to start opening doors, slamming them. They're going to move stuff. They're going to try to everything they can to get your attention.
Mm-hmm.
That's what these spirits are doing. And I said, when they get frustrated, they build up that energy. They get frustrated and angry, and typically they just want, like you said, they just have a message. They have a message, or they have something that they want to relay. There's obviously something that is bothering these spirits, enough to do this, and that's typically what we find. And 9 times out of 10, it's either a loved one or a family friend, whatever, who has passed on, and they just want, the clients are holding on to that thought, and they can't, stop the mourning process. It's just a continuation. They just are holding on to that thought process, and the spirit sees this. It sees that these clients are that upset, and they don't want to leave them. I mean, I wouldn't. If I saw my loved ones holding on to me when I passed on, I want to stay with them. I don't want them.
Oh,
I don't
absolutely.
yeah. So, and that's part again of the process of the investigation. If that's something that's happened, and it's I stated earlier about the interview process. That's something I ask. I said, in the past 6 to 8 months, or even in the past year, has somebody recently passed on? Is it a family member, a friend? And some people don't even think about that. They're like, oh, well, yeah, a buddy of mine passed away. He had a heart attack, 4 months ago. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because you see the wheels start turning and those puzzle pieces starting to fit, because we'll get reports of ambient smoke, just cigarette smoke, just randomly. None of the family smokes. They're like, wait, none of us smoke. And then you ask that question, somebody passed on, and they're like, yeah, a friend of mine. Well, did he smoke? Yeah, he did.
Yeah. I was
and
good.
oh, sorry. And it was questions like that, and then there's hard hitting questions, and I hate asking them, but it's part of our job.
Right.
Is there any abuse, mental abuse, alcohol abuse, sexual abuse, is domestic violence, is anything going on? And you tell the client, it's nothing personal. We're not here to judge or call the cops, unless it's something really bad. But we usually, I've never done that yet, thank God, and I'm hoping I never have to. But you ask about this, because all of that can tie in. You get somebody who's abusive, that's gonna have that negative impact and negative energy.
Well, there's a lot of grandparents, like some of the spirits that I worked with or ghosts. I call it, no matter what comes out of my mouth, spirit or ghost, whatever. So that's how I am. So
Nothing wrong with that, brother.
everybody knows on my show that I say spirit or ghost, whatever comes out of my mouth. But especially when it's a young couple and there's a baby involved with the situation. And the first thing that I asked them some questions. I said, "Are you all fighting? Are you all like fighting against each other? Are you causing a lot of commotion in this house?" 95% of the time. And then the ghost set is like, not driving the baby crazy, but actually protecting the baby.
Yep.
It's either a great grandma or great 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 grandma or grandma or something like that. And so people out there, listen, we got to tell you, you might watch these ghost shows or you might see movies that have ghosts and demons and stuff like that. I'm telling you, they know what you're talking about. They know. And I'll tell you a really quick story here. I remember I bought a brand new car. This was like about 12, 13 years ago. I bought a brand new car. And we were going to a house that was definitely, it was bad. It was bad. And my transmission just went on a brand new car because it knew I was coming. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, people thinking what they see on shows, people walking around the TVs, it's a lot different than what you see on TV. And I tell people, it's like if you can sit in a room where it's pitch black talking to something out there that's not there, maybe,
Hmm.
than it is for you. I
Well, oh,
Go ahead.
sorry, brother. Sorry.
No, no, no. It's all you.
So I had the opportunity and privilege to speak with Satori Haas and Cherie Marie from Ghost Hunters. It was such a pleasure. Um, I got a chance to speak to them during one of my live videos with my brother Brian John Laverty. We spoke about him last night, but
Yeah.
we did a special video called "Women Investigate Too." It was a big special for a lot of women in the field. For it was just
Hmm.
that's all our guests were, and by some grace, we got the chance to speak with both these wonderful ladies. And Satori Haas, Jason Haas's daughter, was so down to earth, so relaxed, and so she could have just sat with us any given time of day and just hung
Right.
out. She's that laid back, and I love that about her. And she has my utmost respect. But the one thing she said during that interview that really hit home for me, and I knew this, but it really didn't set until she said it. These shows, like Ghost Hunters, they go to these locations like Waverly Hills, Eastern State Penitentiary, all over. They're there for at least a week or two.
Hmm.
So you see, you only see a half hour. So the half hour you're seeing are the best of the best
Right.
evidence. You know, you don't see, the days where they go in and nothing happens.
Hmm.
And that's happened to myself and many others. We've gone to,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
locations. Yeah, yeah, we've gone to locations that are absolutely notorious for being haunted. They get claimed, and nothing's happened.
Right.
I went to the Queen Mary. I've investigated that. I had the honor to investigate that. Excuse the pun, but it was dead that night. We had a couple of AVPs,
No, I
but
know. I know what you mean. When with last night's show, you talked about the North Carolina. What was
yeah.
that like?
Oh, that was so. For those who don't know, and I know Shawn, we found this out about us last night, but we're Navy men. So
Hey, Holly. Excuse me, buddy.
no, no,
Hi,
no.
Holly. How are you?
Hi,
Uh,
Holly.
Holly has a question for you, sir.
Yeah,
What was the scariest case that you have gone to investigate?
that's actually a very good question, Holly, and one that I've been asked a lot. Here's the thing. For me personally, I don't mean to sound egotistical by any stretch of the imagination. Trust me, I'm not.
You're
But
not. No, 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 no.
I I personally understand that when I go in this field, when I go out investigating, certain things are going to happen, or certain things could happen. I've been pushed, scratched, bitten, had my name yelled in my ear. I've channeled before. I've basically had thoughts and feelings that weren't mine. It startled me. But when I go into these investigations, I prepare myself for that. I prepare for worst case scenario because that's what the military trains you for. They train you for the worst case scenario. And the paranormal is no different. So there hasn't been an investigation where as I like to call the dude run syndrome from Ghost Hunters, where I ran out. I don't do that.
Mhm.
I don't. That's something that I try not to. I try to keep myself grounded. The only case, there's three cases that I've ever backed out of, and I have, like we stated earlier, we got to that point where it's like, nope, we can't do it. Two of them were what I would call true demonics, and the third one was a potential one, just because of the danger level that was there. The one we had to get the church involved. I think that was probably when I was at my most cautious. I don't want to say the scariest, but I was the most cautious. It
Mhm.
was borderline. I wasn't going to deal with it. I wasn't. The risk was not worth the reward for me. And you know, people. I think newer groups and certain people in our field fail to realize that everything we do in this field, when you take on a client, you're not just affecting yourself, you're affecting your team, you're affecting your client, you're affecting the spirits, you're affecting the area. What you're doing has a lasting impression on that location. We are only there for a few hours. These clients have to live there. So you have
Oh,
to know there are repercussions for literally everything you do. And even like the library, if we went in there and we started raising all sorts of hell, that could be very dangerous for,
Yep.
the patrons. Not to mention look bad on, on all of us.
Oh
But
yeah.
that could be dangerous.
I hope that answered your question, Holly. And hey, Holly, it's good to see you on here. Thank you for asking that question.
Great
So
question.
get back to the North Carolina,
So, like I said,
please.
with us being Navy men, um, anytime I get a chance to do any type of historical Navy history, if you will, it's it's a different feeling. It's very awe inspiring. It's very um, you basically have that respect. It's almost like you're going into a church. It just the
Yeah.
respect that you have that location demands, and the spirits that are there, they demand, they demand your utmost respect. So it's really humbling. Um, but I was in the Seabees, and if you don't know what the Seabees are, it's construction battalion. We don't see ships. We are dirt sailors, and I love it. I absolutely love it. The big gray floaty things, they can have them. That's not me. But too
No, I'm not going
closeted.
there with you on this. Next time we get together, we'll
Oh
have our
yeah.
conversation about that.
But
We'll
it's
have
all
our
brotherly. It's all
conversation.
brotherly. We all love
Oh
each
yeah.
other. And but just going on there, and we went into this main mess area. It was like kind of like a meeting area. And as soon as I stepped on the weather deck, it was just that feeling. It's like, okay, I'm here. I could just feel the emotions. I feel the environment. I feel this ship, the energy this ship has.
Mhm.
And I even did the proper way. Got to the top of the gangplank, saluted the ensign, asked permission to come
Explain
aboard.
what the en- Explain what the ensign is.
So, so there's a tradition in the Navy that when you board a vessel, and again, I'm never was never on one. I was never stationed on one. So this is what they drill into your head. When you go up the gangplank or the walkway, there's a walkway that goes from the shore to the ship. When you walk up, you get to the very top. There's always a flag, the American flag, on the front of the vessel, in the front of the ship. You salute it. You
Yeah.
drop your salute. You turn to an individual, usually an officer or a petty officer standing right there. You salute them and you request permission to come on board. So you ask to come on. You have to ask permission. And I was in my veteran. I had a U.S. Navy veteran hoodie that I had on, and I had my national defense ribbon on. So I went over. I saluted the ensign, turned, popped my salute, request permission to come on board, and I held. I held for a couple seconds.
Right.
And I waited until I got that feeling, okay, you can come on. And then at the
Mhm.
very end, you do the same as you leave. You salute the ensign, respectfully request permission to go aboard, ashore, blah, blah, blah. And I did all that. As soon as I dropped that salute when I asked to come aboard, that feeling was just, it's
Yeah.
different. It's energizing. It's again, addicting. And then just going down the decks of the ship, going into the ship, the smells, the sights, you know, you that's where
Memories. What a memory.
oh, you know what really for me it was since I wasn't stationed, it was all boot camp. That's what came back to me.
Oh
All the
really? Oh
training. Oh
wow.
yeah, battle stations, Marlin's Pike,
Right.
um, general quarters, all of it was is just boot camp memories just by the smell alone. And I sat there for a
Mhm.
couple seconds, and my wife was with me, and I just stopped as soon as I went inside and we went into this, little meeting room. Immediately, the smell of this ship was just right there and just hit me, and I just stopped and I was like, mm, "This is gonna be fun."
Yeah.
I
So we
could
talked
not
a
wait.
lot. Oh, so we talked about Gettysburg
Hmm.
last night.
Yep.
How many times have you been there? If you've been there, where do you investigate in Gettysburg? If you go.
So Gettysburg, I've been there quite a few times ever since I was a kid. We took the school field trips down I went down with a bunch of my friends just to go and scare each other during the holiday, Halloween time. We've even played hide and seek at Devil's Den. Um, but as far as the investigative side, I've been down there several times, and for me, the entire we spoke last night. It's not just Gettysburg itself; it's the outside area too.
Right.
I've done the tours, but I'm not a fan of those just because they're guided.
Right.
I don't want to be guided through Gettysburg. I want Gettysburg to guide me.
Mm-hmm.
So typically, what I do is right by the Jenny Wade house. There is that nice big parking lot right by the museum. I will park on the street there, and I'll just kind of see where I want to go. Typically to the cemetery to pay my respects. That's usually the first place I'll wander, and just walk through. And if something catches my eye, or if I get drawn to a headstone, um, again, I have no gifts or abilities. It's just one of those things. I have shiny syndrome or ADHD, so I see something. It's like, oh, but I'll go over, pay my respects, say thank you, and I'll just let Gettysburg guide me.
Right.
And I always go down and learn something, and it's always a different feel. It's never the same.
Now this summer, I do. We got to make a plan to meet up in Gettysburg. Seriously, because
Oh, absolutely.
I have some places that I like to take you, um, like the Suicide Bridge, that's up
Oh yeah.
there, and then you got Saks Cover Bridge, which is to me the most haunted area up in that area. But what I like to do in Gettysburg is actually park the car, or if I'm at one of the hotels that are in the town,
Hmm.
just walk the town because you have to remember that battle on the 1st of July, 1863, came through Gettysburg.
Yep.
So when there's no cars or trucks on the road at midnight, I mean, it's kind of creepy walking around. But
Well,
we're
I'll sweeten this deal a little bit better for you, brother. So, as
uh,
you know, I'm about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from Gettysburg. Um,
right.
you plan a weekend? I'll show you some of my local haunts and some of
Sweet.
my favorite places, including one where there is some crystals and some
Oh, cool.
prospecting prospects.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Dude. Yeah. Yeah. We're
Uh-huh.
going to go gold prospecting, man.
And I'll take you to a couple areas that we found even some cryptid activity.
Oh,
Um,
sweet.
so I'll take you there, take you to some of my local haunts, even an urban legend, and we'll go hit up Gettysburg. Go hit up Gettysburg,
Nice.
make a road trip, and we'll have some fun.
Oh, hell yeah, we will. Now, okay, we're getting kind of close to the end here of the show. But
Crap already.
I'd like to get, what's that?
I said,
Yeah,
holy
it's an
crap
hour
already.
already. Yeah, that's, I mean, that's when, I don't know, I just have a fun time on my show. Absolutely. But I
I know
got a
the
good brother here to enjoy it. I mean, I'm telling you, Holly, everybody out there listening, I could actually probably stay up 6, 8 hours with this man and just start talking
likewise.
everything.
Likewise.
But what is your opinion on cryptids?
Well, I'll first start off by saying one of the lessons, and that's something I teach. I teach ghost hunting lessons or investigating lessons for these newer teams. Um, the first thing I teach them is anything is possible. Anything in the paranormal is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now we could go into theology and a couple other things, but
Nah,
a lot of these, oh, trust me, I could go for days. But there's always some truth behind the stories.
right.
So for me, like fairies, they've been spoken about hundreds and
I,
thousands of years, forever.
I believe in them. Yep, I've seen them.
Bigfoot, same thing. Trolls, gnomes, they all start somewhere. There's always some sort of truth. So the possibility is out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is like we only know a fraction of our Earth, just a fraction. We only know maybe 10% of our oceans.
Right,
So to say something like, let's say the megalodon, could that be out there? Absolutely. Loch Ness, Nessie, absolutely.
right.
There's still unexplored areas in the world, forests, mountain ranges, to places that nobody's ever seen. So the fact that something could be living there, absolutely, 100%. These cryptids, they're not stupid. And
No,
if you
they're
don't
not.
believe me, think of deer. If you're a deer hunter, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You see deer all the time until when? Hunting season. All of a sudden, the
Okay.
deer disappear. You never see them.
Right.
And deer run out in front of vehicles. So, yeah, think about it. It's possible.
Well, I'm sad that this had to end so fast. It was a good. It's always good, and I mean, we're gonna have some good relationship
Oh yeah,
with my brother. He's awesome. I want to thank you for being on my show tonight.
thank you for having me,
If
brother.
somebody, oh, I'm just 2 nights in a row of some good radio show. It's the best. But if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how, what, how can they find you?
So, me personally, you can find me under Paranormal Consultant on Facebook. My logo is right behind me. So that's my logo. You can find me on Facebook, or you can go to YouTube to the Paracrew podcast. That's one of my shows. Or the best and easiest way, and honestly the most fun way, because you get to learn about a lot more people, is go to Parapost Network Central on Facebook. Find me on there. You can find many others. You can also find me on Paralinks, the Paranormal United Network on Facebook, or the Paracrew podcast on Facebook as well. Or one of my organizations that my wife and I run. It's called the Paranormal Partnership Program, or P3. We have a public page called P3 Family. The logo looks just like that. You can find me there, amongst a bunch of other places. My network and my community, and honestly, my paranormal family has grown so much. Anybody up here, you say you can find me.
Cool. Well, thank you again for being on my show. Please hang around for a little bit after. We'll talk a little bit more.
Of course,
But
brother.
well, I want to thank everybody for joining the show tonight. It was a great show, and I will tell you a little bit, um, especially with my mental health issues that I have right now. Um, they're okay today.
Good.
That's all I can tell you is that they're okay today. But anybody out there, if you know anybody that's actually have some mental issues or whatever, go and sit with them. You don't have to talk to them. Just go sit with them, or give them a hug and
Mm-hmm.
tell them they matter. And it's true. And children, go to your parents, give them a hug, and tell them you love them. And parents, go to your children, give them a hug, and tell them I love you. And if you don't have
100%.
no children, if you don't have no parents, okay, go to somebody who's close to you and give them a hug and tell them. Because those 3 words, I love you, go a long way. And on
Mm-hmm.
that note, happy hunting. I'll see you next week. And good night.